Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. Here are my 7 top mixing plugins for mixing beats specifically. If you guys want vocal mixing, mastering plugins, and all that, just let me know in the comments below. I'll go into the specific topics. Today we're going to focus on mixing beats specifically. So the first plugin is FabFilter Pro Q3. You can do a lot with this. I'll say what I used to think. I used to think this was like overly hyped. I used to think it was the sliders move too fast. I used to think that it was overly complicated until I realized how complex this plugin can actually be. You could do a lot with this plugin, and it's the easiest, cleanest EQ I've found to do what I'm trying to do, whatever it is. So for example, you could type in values, you could just quickly do dynamic EQs. All these little quick things add up over time. And I used to overlook this plugin in the FabFilter suite. It's become one of my favorite plugins to go to for just quick little things. So in this specific beat, I'm just boosting the lows at about 60 hertz, I think, just for that low rumble. So let's say you wanted to deal with the hi-hats. You could just quickly do a dynamic EQ, sharpen the Q right here. It even has heat maps and all types of stuff where you can understand masking and all these different things. There's just so much to this plugin that I don't have time to really go through all of that plugin. It would just take up way too much time. So the next plugin I just found out from Panorama Mastering. This plugin, he made it sound crazy. So shout out to Panorama Mastering. This is called Michelangelo by, what is it called? By Tone Projects. So this is also the company that made the bass plugin that kind of tightens your bass or makes it sound good on the sides. I forget the exact purpose of that one bass plugin. And they make a tilt plugin, but this plugin caught my ear because this sounds like hardware. It sounds like the high quality stuff that I'm used to hearing with hardware. Now, the way he used it in Panorama, again, I'm kind of like butchering and paraphrasing how he used it, so I'm not putting words in his mouth. Okay, here's before. Here's after. It does something magical to that midsection, something super, super, super magical to the midsection. That thing, just for that alone, I think it's worth it, but it's a little pricey, so I'm still debating if I want to buy it or not. But it's in the top 7 for that reason. The midsection, it just sounds nothing like anything I've ever heard. The next plugin is Waves L2. This is just a really lightweight limiter you can add over top of your track. What I do for video is just lower this threshold down to about -4. And then I can produce into the limiter and it sounds nice and clear and it's very lightweight on CPU. So this one, it has so many benefits to it. It makes it loud, it's lightweight, and it's just easy to use. It's basically 3 knobs, but I only use 2 of the knobs for the most part. And that's how I use Waves L2, nothing more complicated than that. It basically gets your songs and beats louder. The next thing I use is K-Clip. Now, I don't have time to explain every process and why I use it, but K-Clip is great for, I'll kind of run this processing so you guys could hear it. So I'm going to exaggerate the effect. Here we go. What I'm doing is chopping off the tops of the audio to make it more squared off, but also add soft clipping. So this really just adds loudness to your track. Once you learn how to use it, I'm just chopping off transients and then boosting the input so that we're getting more loudness out of the track. Okay, so that's, a plugin. There's also Standard Clip and there's T-Rax Classic Clipper. That's another great one for hip hop. But I found that T-Rax, you need it for very specific beat types because it doesn't work all the time for everything. But K-Clip, I can get it to work with acoustic and trap and hip hop stuff. That's why it's on my list today. But the alternative would be T-Rax Classic Clipper. I know a lot of people talk about Fruity Soft Clipper. It's just not the same as K-Clip and T-Rax. It's not the same. It just sounds different. Next plugin is called Weiss. Where is it called? Weiss DS1 MK3. I don't have it loaded up on this track because I don't use it for every single track. So what I'm going to do is plug in my iLok. But in the meantime, I'm going to go to the next plugin, which got they canceled I think it was called Gobbler, was like a subscription website that I used to subscribe to SSL. Now they're going through a different website, so I don't have it. But there's something called the SSL Fusion Stereo Image. In short, it just has this knob called Width, and it sounds great. I've had the actual SSL Fusion, and it sounded so close that I was like, why do I have my SSL Fusion? Because really, I only like the SSL Fusion for that one imager knob, the two imager knobs that it had in some of the vintage drive. And long story short, that's one of the best imaging plugins. And it taught me a lot about imaging because I never thought to boost the low mids on the sides to make something sound more warm and full. And that width knob does that. An alternative would be Isotope Ozone's Imager. They even have a free imager. I believe that's still free. But there's too much to explain about the difference between the SSL one as far as that width knob. But you could use this too. Okay, so that's an honorable mention. And then lastly, I have the FabFilter Saturn 2. So the way I would use it most of the time is to add fullness to the sound. So let's turn this on. I'm going to exaggerate the sound, but if you ever like are lacking a fullness to your sound, this is a great way to add that fullness to the sound. So that's exaggerated. Let's pull it back. So what I like to do is add an envelope to this to modulate the mix level so that it doesn't stay on all the time. And I'll mess with the threshold. You don't need to know what this does. Basically, it only turns on when the kick hits a certain volume or the snare goes past a certain volume. So you could hear when the kick hits, it goes like that. But only when that kick passes this threshold. And then you can shape how long it lasts with the decay curvature. So that takes care of all those transient heavy sounds like you're kicking your snare for the most part. So that's Saturn 2. Now let's go back to the Weiss MK or DS1 MK3. Now I'm not going to use the plugin to mix this specific beat. I'm just going to show you what it can do because in this specific beat, I'm not sure I would even need it. But let me just show you guys what it could sound like. So again, there's too many things to show you about the plugin to like give you a whole tutorial right now, but this is the Weiss DS1 MK3. I think Mixbus said like a $10,000 compressor or something like that. So that's why I bought it, because I was like, wow, the companies who can get the hardware sound into plugin form, those are the plugins I buy, because I've heard the difference between analog and digital stuff. And I'm like, analog just sounds good without even trying. Whereas digital, you got to really tweak it to make it sound good. Analog just sounds good. You could just set it and forget it most of the time with analog stuff. But for digital stuff, you got to tweak every little thing. It becomes tedious. So this is one of those compressors that just sounds good. I'm going to turn it on. And again, we're not mixing. It's not a full mixing video. I'm just showing you how clean and cool it sounds. So it has a general threshold here. So I'm compressing pretty heavily, but it sounds good. Turn up the makeup gain. Let's add that with our processing. Let me just turn off the limiter here. And again, this is not meant for this mix, but let's see. Here's without. It even has a parallel compression mode, which I'm not going to go into detail about that, but that also adds a reason why that plugin is super great. So I like to use it. The only issue I would say with that plugin is the iLok, and iLok takes up a whole USB port for me. That's why I don't use iLok products as much that require the USB port, because I need my MIDI controller, I need my external hard drive, I need my charger, and I need my interface to plug into my computer. And on the MacBooks, you only have 4 slots. So if the iLok is, it's just like I don't even use a lot of iLok stuff anymore because of that reason. That's why I think a lot of iLok stuff for the USB just sucks. even though you can put it on your computer and put it on your whatever the cloud, some companies require that it remains on a USB, which is super archaic to me, but it is what it is. So those are the plugins, the top 7 plugins. Quick list if you skip to the end for some reason. The plugin list is FabFilter Pro Q3. Highly recommended the entire FabFilter suite in general. Michelangelo, I'm about to buy, haven't bought yet because the price is a little high for me. $250 for one plugin. That's like a whole DAW. Like, come on. They need to lower the prices, honestly, and it will be way more popular. At least half the price. Is anything over 100 is just like, come on, y'all. Okay, so even though the plugin is excellent, I just can't justify that price. It's just a little too high. Waves L2 is just a lightweight limiter that just sounds really good. What else? K-Clip is another plugin. I'm using this a lot for acoustic and hip hop clipping of the track to really get it loud and make it perform the way I want it to perform. The Weiss DS1 MK3 I learned from Mixbus TV. Highly recommend his channel on YouTube. It just sounds good. It sounds like the analog stuff I've been working with. That's what made me realize, do I need my analog compressors like that? And I just, so there's that. And then the SSL imager I don't have on this computer. I used to, but they switched subscription services. So the SSL Fusion stereo image is one of my favorite imagers. And then we have the Ozone 10 imager. That's a nice alternative. And then we have the FabFilter Saturn 2, which is a really good saturator to fill up your track. So thank you guys for watching. It's Game from BusyWorksBeats.com. Subscribe for your new piece.